Super withdrawals, supercharging housing. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee. Let's have a look at this article from Yahoo Finance. So, catastrophic. Huge warning about $20,000 home buyer act. So, the government's decision to allow Australians to access $20,000 of their superannuation early could have devastating consequences for the Australian housing market and potential buyers, the peak superannuation body has warned. Now, on principle, I do not agree with the idea of mandatory superannuation because I consider it too paternalistic from the government. That's my, position I would put. I would argue that individuals need to have enough education and capacity to save themselves. Forcing people to save and putting money in the hands of the big banks and the unions, well, it feels like it's done for political purposes more than anything. Perhaps with good intentions, but what would you rather? How many people withdraw their super at the end and just fritter it all away, or just have super but don't actually have a home or stability? And you've got to remember, there's going to be years and years of stress trying to make ends meet when a portion of your money is locked away from you for all that time. How much better could your life have been if you had access to that money? Maybe your mortgage could have been paid off a lot quicker. Maybe you could have made smarter investment decisions. Maybe you could have made ends meet. But that's not the country we live in. Some people seem to think that we're all too stupid to manage our own money. Maybe there should be an education system, or only those with a certain intelligence quota are allowed to use their money. Maybe. So let's have a look at this. Australians in financial hardship were eligible to withdraw 2 sets of $10,000 from their superannuation early last year at the height of the COVID-19 outbreak. And I bet a lot of people did. And a lot of people used that money to get into property. And I can't blame them for wanting to do it. I know some people in the comments took out their super money and put it into crypto. And they're quite happy with the results they got. I don't know about you, but a lot of crypto, a lot of these super funds, you don't really have that much control over it unless you set up your own one. But then there's a whole lot of costs and rigmarole associated with that. And even, can you buy a house in your super fund and live in it? I only know one person that did it. A public servant, of course, who bought it through the family trust and then had a friend rent it out and she house shared with him to do it on the dodge. It must be good if you can be that, work the system that way. There are a lot of people doing the dodge in Australia, and either they don't realize it, or, they can get away with it. The First Home Super Saver Scheme, introduced in the 17-18 federal budget, also allows borrowers to save money for a home inside their superannuation fund, where it attracts less tax. Under this scheme, borrowers can make up to $30,000 in voluntary contributions to their superannuation before withdrawing it to funnel into their property purchase. However, the policy could have expensive and catastrophic ramifications for the housing market, the Association of Super Funds of Australia warned this week. Well, it's a lobbying group. They want to have control of your money. They make money off it. And they're worried about housing. They're worried about you, everyone. It's not that it's going to reduce the money that they have under control. It's not that it's going to reduce how much they can make in fees. I mean, I don't understand why super funds are so expensive when you can just put it in an EFT and make the same return. Yep. So, and they have to charge you for all those dodgy insurances and things that you always hear about in the current affairs. Australia already has some of the most expensive housing in the world, ASFA CEO Dr. Martin Fay said. The national housing market increased 2.1% in price over February, the highest monthly increase since 2003. Prominent economists are also predicting double-digit growth over the next year, prompting concerns the market could even overheat. Well, I'd say in some regards it already is. But it's people's money. People should have access to their money. People should be able to use the money that they've saved, that they've been forced to save. Well, this isn't even what they've been forced to save. This is voluntary contributions. See, now they've got your money. You voluntarily paid into it. They've got it. They don't want to give it away. They don't want to give it away. It's theirs. It's not yours. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy, isn't it? Think about it. If the super funds actually had to compete to get your money, maybe you'd be getting some better service. So with the prevailing macroeconomic conditions and surging demand for housing, using super for housing deposits would be disastrous and push prices even further out of the reach of first-time buyers. Superannuation isn't the reason young Australians can't afford to buy a home of their own. How do you know? How do you know? If I wasn't forced to put money in super, we would have gotten a property a lot earlier. A decade earlier. Then we would have been able to get the property gains, the value gains from that. That would have been great. But no, it's not super's fault, guys. Just the fact that nearly 10% of your income is locked away until you're old and may not even be able to get it. You know, don't worry. I'm sure they won't pass death taxes so your children can't get it. What about all those people who don't have kids? You know? So, a lack of supply. There is no lack of supply in apartments. They're oversupplied. We've been hearing about that again and again and again. Just look at South Brisbane. Look at the developers that are essentially giving away, year-free mortgage payment. That's just a huge discount on the property. And policy settings with respect to residential investment properties has had a distortionary effect on demand. He added, well, I agree with the negative gearing is playing a big part in that because our taxes are so high. Because we need to fund all these crazy, stupid things the government funds. ASFA's analysis of how superannuation withdrawals affect the property market found that using super for housing deposits promotes inequality, as it will most likely be used by higher income earners who could already afford property. So what? It's their choice. This may be the only chance some people have of getting in a house. And what's going to be more important when you retire? Having a huge chunk of super and renting and not having the security, or having a home and having a less chunk of super? The second effect is that those higher earners enter the market with more capital and trigger housing prices in general, higher housing prices in general. Well, this is the thing. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Our government has shown that they will intervene into the market significantly to ensure housing prices remain robust. Housing is the piñata for the Australian government that they hit to get economic activity. Bang, bang, bang. While around 80% of Australians over 75 own their home outright, and 80% of those 50 to 64 have a mortgage on their home, the percentage of younger Australians in the market has fallen. Yes, because housing is getting so bloody expensive. What they need to do, what they really should do, is they need to bring in the quote or the policy that Palmer was suggesting, where you could write off the interest expense on your first home. Pay yourself before you're forced to pay the state. That needs to be the mantra for Australians. We need to get to that point. You need to realize, guys, the government isn't going to take care of you. You need to let your friends know the government isn't going to take care of you. There may be some people that for the first time they've realized how much of a mess our welfare system is, and that they want you to be really poor before you get a penny. You could be smart and have saved up, paid your taxes, and think that's a fallback for you. Nah, it's not. It's only designed to keep you out of destitution. You just have to see it like that, everyone. I would suggest there be more efficient ways of doing it than the system that we have set up. But, you got to learn. So, from 13 to 14, 34% of Australians under 35 owned a home, down from 48% in 94 to 95. There you go. Look at that. Look at that drop. And the decline has been even sharper among lower income households, the ABS data has shown. Well, it's because wages aren't growing, everyone. Because, well, in some regards, I'd argue, why bother starting a business and hiring people here in Australia? Why bother doing it? It's a hassle. It's a real pain. Our they're trying to push through changes to our industrial relation laws, and we'll go through that in another video. On principle, I would argue that government needs to step back from IR, and it needs to be more of an open negotiation. It needs to be easier to hire and fire people, because it's such a disincentive. It's such a painful process that encourages people to offshore work or to keep smaller or to automate. I was talking to a gentleman the other day. He's working with point cloud scanning technology, similar to the stuff that we rent out, but much more advanced. And they're looking at deploying it to do stock take in shops, where you can just do a scan, boom, boom, boom. The computer can detect it all, count your stock, get you an estimate. That's a low-skilled job that will disappear. What would you rather? hire a company in to do it with their machine, or pay a bunch of people and have to deal with all the BS. That's where it's heading, everyone. So, at the same time, the number of Australians retiring with a mortgage is increasing as loan sizes balloon. In 2018, 40% of Australians aged 55 to 64 were still paying off their mortgage. 40%. Using superannuation for housing deposits is fundamentally inconsistent with the objective of superannuation to provide an adequate retirement income, he said. None of the comprehensive reviews of superannuation over the last decade have recommended it, while several have recommended the contrary. Yeah, well, are they vested interest? ASFA blasted a lack of coordination and agreement across federal, state and local governments to tackle rising housing unaffordability and called for a national approach rather than ad hoc measures. Additionally, it said the government needed to greatly increase its investment in social housing and affordable rental housing. Okay. Social housing, it's what people will pull, that shouldn't be a goal. We should not have a nation that's, a big portion of our population is in social housing. That should be a sign of the failure of a civilization if we've got so many people dependent on social housing. We want people to be home owners. We want people to be house proud. We want people to invest and build their own life, not be dependent or wards of the state. It comes as federal MP Tim Wilson was slammed for appearing to suggest Australians dip into their super to buy a house in December last year. Why? Because all of these other groups want to control your money. They want to have control over it. It gives them power. How much money from the union-controlled super funds gets funneled into propaganda? How much money from the banks gets friddled away? People are just complying now. We're used to it. They think it's a good thing. They don't realize that they could have control of their own money. That is the alternative. We need to advocate for that. And I know people are going to say, oh, but people are too dumb. I'll be paying for them for welfare then anyway. Well, then you give them charity. You give them alms. People learn the hard way. Then seeing all these people in destitution will be a lesson for future generations. Maybe that's a bit too harsh for this snowflake world we're living in. Sometimes failure is a necessary part in a journey, and I'd say it works just as well on a nation as an individual level. So aiming to buy a first home and struggling to save a deposit, for 4 days you may be able to access your super savings, or for 4 more days you may be able to access your super savings now to bring a purchase forward. The home first, super fund second. You'll have a better life and a better retirement. Yeah, no, I agree. Unlicensed financial advice, while others queried his claim. Unlicensed financial advice. What would you rather, guys? Your home paid off quicker or a big fat super fund? Let us know in the comments. Or both. Maybe just control of your own earnings. As always, thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one in the comments down below. If you're a fan and enjoy the content I create here, there are a few ways you can support us. You can join the channel on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links from Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve or AussieBroadband. You can buy merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care. Have a great day. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.